We have a guest whose retinas stopped communicating with his brain, but he is definitely not blind. We're going to explore all of Richard Turner's accomplishments and understand why it's time for us to start expanding our definition of sight. He spent his whole life playing on a field that was different than us.
Larry, come here, watch this, Larry, watch this.
He's a magic man.
That's 18,000 days, bro. That's crazy.
So beyond ridiculous.
Heel, boys, it's heel.
That's hilarious.
No way, Jose.
Yeah, you're Cinderella.
That's the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life.
What happened to you in 1963 that changed the way you see?
My sister and I, my sister Lori, I was 9, she was 5.5. We both got scarlet fever. Now, we can't say definitely this was the cause of it, but it was the only thing that was common between our two cases. We got scarlet fever, and that caused the retina in our eyes to start dissolving. First, the macula went, which is the center part of your vision, and then the rest of it slowly faded away over the course of a number of years. But overnight, within 30 seconds, the same thing happened to both me and my sister at separate times from each other. In my case, I'm looking at the chalkboard. I'm in my 4th grade class. I look down at my book. I look back up, and everything's a blur.
No, that quickly?
What?
That fast. The same. My sister will tell you the same thing happened to her. A year,
Crazy.
a different year, and
Wow.
within 1 minute, it went from normal vision to legally blind. 20 over
So weird
400.
how fast it happens.
Insane. Or, is this a very unique thing to you?
We are the only cases that we know. And
Oh,
the thing
is it happening that quickly?
Yes, and we think it was from scarlet fever. Even though I've been to the cemetery where a bunch of magicians are buried, and there was one magician there that was buried that had got scarlet fever and went blind.
You might be the only two people that have had this happen so quick, but you're not the only people, although there's not many, who have Charles Bonnet syndrome. And I guess that's not the retina dissolving, that's the way that you're working with your visual cortex now that the retina's gone. Is that how you...
Yes, that's a pretty good
It's the way your
summary.
brain is readjusted, basically?
Yeah, break
Yeah.
down Charles Bonnet syndrome for us.
Charles Bonnet syndrome is a condition where a person sees things that are not there. Okay, and I'm probably the most extreme case of CBS on the planet. That's the acronym for Charles Bonnet syndrome, CBS.
If you're going to do it,
Yep.
be the most extreme.
And
Whatever you
basically
do.
in my case, I see my subconscious in external space. In other words, what you see in here when you're sitting there picturing or imagining things in your brain, or when you're dreaming at night, I see projected in front of me like on a giant movie screen that's 360 degree. It covers my full spectrum of vision. Where you would see what you see right now, I see this just myriad of colors. And I have two basic spectrums, the blue spectrum and the red spectrum. And they say the blue spectrum is the higher right brain artistic, and then the red, which is more geometrical. When I'm in the red spectrum, everything are squares, triangles, circles, geometric shapes. And the blue spectrum is random. There's like paint strokes going up and down, royal blue, blue, turquoise blue, lime green, green, all the way down the line. And then around, that's the baseline. And then in front of that is just every subconscious image you could imagine. I can instantly just picture, like you're underwater, thousands of fish floating around. Instead of fish, they're just random images, a car, a horse.
And they feel like they're in 3D space, so
and
some stuff's really far
they're
away.
layered 3-dimensionally, but their images are 2-dimensional, but they're layered 3-dimensionally.
But that's what's so interesting about you, though, right? Is because there was a period of your life where you did have eyesight and you could see things, and I'm sure the memories are there and your brain's
Yes.
utilizing, it's not like you were born blind, like you saw for a while and then overnight or in an hour.
I mean, the
a minute
brain
or
had
whatever.
9 years to understand
Right,
the full
that's what I'm saying.
three-dimensional visual world.
Your brain
Yes.
probably uses those memories and creates.
Yes, exactly. You're
Wow.
exactly right.
Also, you have to remember, I'm very dumb about these things, so I might
Well,
ask very
you're
stupid
talking
questions.
to something that very few people have even know about, because
Right.
we're very. I'm an anomaly. I'm a freak I'm a strange case. And so, you're not going to find, I have not met anybody else other than my sister, but she doesn't have quite the same projection levels that I do.
Can you bring up the DeepDream images? This is for the audience, and I'll try to describe to you what we're looking at, Richard. But there is a deep learning system that came out of Google. And what it does is you show it a photograph, and it tells you what is in the photograph. Could be a dog, could be a fish. The machine learning system has been trained to recognize this. Now, this clever guy at Google reversed it. So instead of actually seeing a dog and then the computer spitting out the word dog, he said, why don't we go backwards? Here's the word dog. Make me something that looks like a dog, and it would. But he stopped the system halfway through. So you could never do this with a human. But this is essentially like if you imagine a dog in your head, there's this split second where it actually forms from everything you know about dogs.
Right.
If you could stop it halfway through, like you can on a computer system, unlike a human brain, the image that you're seeing on screen is what you get. So the eyes that you're seeing, so it's
partially formed.
It's very psychedelic. It's like a bunch of psychedelic colors, and you see a lot of little eyeballs forming in all of the little crevices.
Cool.
Does that?
Yeah.
You're talking about my normal state of affairs.
Well, it's just so interesting because neural networks are essentially built trying to mimic a lot of the things the brain has. Can you go through some of the other images, Matt? But it makes me wonder if something starts this way in your old visual system that's very deep in your brain, and then you essentially end up kind of stuck somewhere in the middle here, and then a new sensory takes over. So anyways, these are just visuals that I thought might just be interesting, but you can totally imagine just how they can be very wild, but they have macro patterns.
You're saying this process is something that for like you and me happens, but we don't even know what's happening because it happens so quick, or the brain's just doing its own thing. But for him, like he can see it, like he now has this power to sort of see what
I think his brain does something like this from the old network, and then it finishes the story with the new network. I think he sort of splits into something else. But this is, if you type in dog and the computer generates a dog, you stop it halfway through. These are the weird kind of things you get, but it can be anything, a scorpion, a squid, a leaf. It can be anything that's happening. So, I just wanted to throw that other. We can go back to your.
I don't like that one.
Yeah, I know some of them can be very creepy, but they just.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Remember the thing about nightmares I told you about earlier?
Yeah, this is exactly what
Thanks a
happened.
lot.
They're back.
I have more dumb questions, and I'm just gonna be out there.
Why not? I'll give you dumb
I
answer.
am not an artistic person by any stretch of the imagination, but have you ever tried to paint what you see? The colors that you're talking about, like, do you think you could get in front of a canvas and paint sort of for the rest of us who want to know?
Pretty little tree,
I've tried
thing.
I've tried to have it rendered by taking just a still shot of a real thing and then start layering in all these colors and patterns and images over it. And I had a friend, Josh Daughtry, he tried when I was doing one of my one-man plays, and I talk about this condition. He had it rendered in the best he could do based on my descriptions. Of course, that was a few years ago, and it'd probably be a lot better done.
So if I'm imagining like you're underwater, and instead of all these random fish, there's all these little images of just people and places you've been, and they're two-dimensional. So do you have a thought on why they might be two-dimensional? And also, can they rotate in a way where, like, a piece of paper,
they're constantly moving, the light, just picture the cells.
Like a sticker, if it turns sideways, it almost becomes invisible. Do some of them kind of disappear that way?
Oh, they're constantly moving. Just picture, like, the cells in a theater, lights shining behind. That's how bright the colors are. They're vivid, bright colors. And even when I'm total black, locked in a vault, they're just as vivid. Wow. So the brain has rewired itself to the visual network within it, and so it's creating, like I said, these images, and I can at will pick any image I want to see. Right now, it's like an empty, like a plat or a canvas with just all kinds of things I can pick from. Now I want to see my beautiful wife in her swimsuit. And I will instantly see her, and I can take her, move her forward, turn her around, upside down. I never turn her upside down, but I can rotate her around in any way I want, or
you can do cartwils.
You can do cartwheels. Oh, in fact, as you say that, I'm watching it happen. my thing I do all the time, and people will see me do, is I write in the air.
Right.
Yeah, I want to remember a phone number. I write it down, and it just stays in the air, just like you write it on a chalkboard or a computer screen. And I have what's called a eidetic memory. I take a picture of it, and I never forget it.
So is there a logical grouping to what's in there? Or if you say, I just want to think of nature, do a bunch of trees and leaves show up, and then you think,
That is a very good question. And that's when I'm walking down the street, my brain creates the environment I believe that I'm in. If I'm in the forest, I will see flowing images, but they're not real pictures of trees just kind of floating. And I can see the wind blow. If the wind is blowing, the whole thing sways one way or the other, depending on what my perception of the direction the wind is going.
Is this happening all the time
All
for
the
you?
time.
Or is
Day
it
and
happening? You said you kind of live in two different headspaces, right? Two different worlds, the
Two
red
different
and the blue.
color spectrums.
Two different color spectrums.
well, not at night. You dream normal, right?
Yes, when I dream, everything is none of these construction.
Okay, but all the
constructed
time you're
images.
awake. So you know you've woken up when things become more hallucinating, kind
Yes.
of like more.
Yes, it's more
Less-
psychedelic.
Well, what are the
Okay.
big differences between the red and the blue color spectrums?
The blue are all blue shades, like I said, from royal blue to
Do
turquoise
you
blue.
control when you go from one to the
No.
other?
No,
Your
I-
brain's just like, it's
it-
red
no.
now.
So he's in
No.
blue 70% of the time, he said.
Okay.
But I don't know. You can't turn it on or off?
No, I
So
cannot.
70%
I
is
cannot
just
change
that.
it to red. I'll wake up one morning, and maybe my brain believes it's summertime, because usually the summer is when the red spectrum takes over, and the red is all constructions of design, shapes, circles, squares. The base is either one of two things, and it's either a deep maroon red, which is one of my favorite colors. Okay, and in each of these squares are circles and triangles, and then on that's the basis for it.
Okay.
Then on in front of that is all these other random images. It could be anything from my car to like I said, my wife, or anything I want to decide to put on. Like I've
When they're
built,
in the little shapes.
they're in the shapes, or they will come out. They'll come out. They're like I said, everything is layered.
They're like little boxes you can unpack.
Yes, exactly. And I can zoom them in. I've designed my own houses, and I built them. And what I would do is, I watch at my hotel, sit in a chair like this, and I'll watch in full 3 dimensions. I'll watch, okay, I need a 4x12 there, cross beam over there. Okay, I need 2x6 over there. They need to be anchored there. And I'll design a whole 3-dimensional deck, 3-layer deck with built-in hanging swings and flower beds and everything. And then I'll have my cutter come out, and I'll say, this board needs to be 192 inches long. And without a single piece of paper, put this giant jigsaw puzzle together. And my dad, who is a very gifted man, he would not know, what are you doing? And because I had no paper and everything, he said, man, engineers, carpenters, if they come out within 2-inch or 3-inch square, they're happy, and my stuff would be perfectly square. And when that was without a single piece of paper.
Because the brain can be more perfect in a way than...
So here's how me, a dumb person, is understanding
You're not a dumb
what's
person.
happening.
No.
We don't want to say that again.
So,
Yeah. How
I just
about,
wanna make
how
it
about
clear.
lovely?
go on. So it's almost like your eyes failed you, and your brain's like, I got you. Your brain's like, I got
yes.
your back. And it's almost
Oh,
like it's
yeah, I like that
creating
interpretation.
this new language to communicate with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No,
Like
you're
is that
exactly
weird,
right. And that is not dumb. That is genius.
Oh my gosh.
My God, you've solved the
I'm
mystery.
obsessed. I went from dumb to genius in a matter of minutes.
It is
Dr.
seconds.
Ogi will be so
Seconds.
happy. But
Very
no, you're
good.
right.
No,
There's definitely
But she's
feels like
exactly
something
right.
connecting.
It created its own new communicative language for me. I see in this beautiful world, and people have, because my visual cortex, my brain still sees full, complete images. And the best evidence is that at night when I dream, that I'm a perfect candidate for an artificial eye. And it was actually presented to me and by somebody from Harvard. And I said, I would not be interested in that, because the gifts, the things that I can do with this far outweigh the benefits of being able to see what's real out there.
Don't give up a superpower.
No
Give a
way,
superpower.
Jose.
Don't give that away.
And it's not even Jose over there. No way, Luce.
Well, and I think the exact words he used when I was like, would you get fixed eyes, and he's like, hell no. So it's a lot different than I'd prefer not to. I was like, whoa, this is much better. The world that Richard is living in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I consider myself very blessed, very fortunate.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
think so too. Can you manipulate speed at all? Like, are you able to deal a card faster or slower in your brain than it happens in your fingers, or does all speed and sound kind of have the same pace?
But there's no sound, but the speed that is an interesting thought.
Because my thinking is that when you deal those cards, Lisa and I can see the color of the card, and I guess you can't know for sure what pattern is on there, but have extra imagination now to imagine whatever or maybe
design I want, and it's not what's on there.
My visual field and hers are now kind of wasted on having to process whatever is coming in. Is that where the superpowers kind of come from, or?
Yeah, well, that's where my analysis comes from when I'm creating and designing and working on some kind of new move or effect. Is my analysis of the movement that I'm doing. I'll do that movement in super slow motion, so my brain will analyze exactly what I want to do, and then I will take it and I will embed it into my subconscious, and then I practice it when I'm not even consciously aware that I'm practicing. That's how I'm able to put in 10, 15, 20 hours a day doing the same thing over and over and over. I turn it into a subconscious habit, and I take it in slow motion and do it over and over, and then I, like I said, I turn it into a subconscious habit, and I will be practicing that move 10,000 times
10,000?
Every 4 hours.
If you go too long without handling the cards, you start to feel uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I can't
is it
wait to
become
hear him
harder?
answer this.
No, but seriously.
Yes.
Have you
Seriously.
ever?
That's a good question.
He has a waterproof deck. He's been known to have a deck in his hand.
Well, if something happened that his cards were, he was in a car accident and the cards were flung over the overpass, and he's sitting there, in his mangled car, just waiting for the jaws of life, and he doesn't have his cards.
That's
And
true.
I'm
You
in a
never know.
panic,
Would
and
he
he
start
said
to
going
panic
into
as well?
shock because he doesn't have cards in his hand. But
No, that
the
would be.
Sorry to
That's
paint
car
like
is totaled, but
Sorry
the,
to paint this
the
horrible
deck
image,
is crashed.
but I have the hard-hitting questions over here. And if something happened, you couldn't have your cards for a couple hours, would it really start to make you uncomfortable?
Yes,
It's
and
an
in fact,
extension of you at this point.
yes. In fact, when I was the church we go to, they broadcast the service, and there was this guy in one row, whatever, with a deck of cards in his hand, and they at one time. They said, maybe they suggested I'm kind of distracting the people around because they're kind of looking over going, what's that guy
what's
doing
he
over
doing?
there?
Yeah.
And so I realized, and so the next week, my hands were shaking. And then and Kim, my wife, would grab my hands. Why are your hands shaking?
Because I don't have cards.
And then so then after that,
forget them. You do you. You take your cards. They
then
can,
I took
they can deal with it.
What I did is I took the things that you put your donations in, or donation
Oh, right.
envelopes.
Little
I
envelopes.
took a whole stack of those, and I started palming those, and that satisfied for a little bit.
The card mechanic finds a way.
Can you imagine?
Yes.
Can you imagine him just sneak into the bathroom like, oh, just give me a few more riffles and
You're
I'm
just
back.
going through people.
Well,
Do you have a business card? Do you have a business card? Do you have a business card? Okay, I have 52 business
Yeah,
cards. I'm good
exactly.
now. Shuffle,
Yeah.
shuffle, shuffle.
No, what I did is I had a deck made with nothing on either side.
Okay.
And my wife keeps them in her Bible. She keeps them. And so
Wait,
now,
like completely
and they just
clear?
they're just white on both sides.
Oh, you should get pure clear ones, like those clear plastic. Then nobody would
Yeah.
even see what you're doing.
Well, those things they're clear, but they're not clear. They'll still show up. But
Or make it out of ice. Make it out of ice and then melt it in your hand when they come.
Okay, okay, I need to start asking some important questions here.
Some hard hitting.
Let's get on. Let's get off
you
this
know me.
nonsense.
Hard
Matter.
hitting
Whatever.
questions.
Yeah.
So
So
you are able to manipulate these cards and know what's on them by seeing with your hands. How far does that go? Are you picking up, again, maybe dumb questions, but I'm a genius. We've established this. Can you pick up a single card and your mind knows what it is?
not that to that degree.
Okay.
But
okay. Starting point. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll work backwards from there.
But I'll tell you what I can do.
Okay.
You can take it and shuffle up a deck of cards.
Yeah.
You can tell me a card game, like 7-card stud.
Okay.
You can tell me how many players you want. You can tell me who you want the winning hand at. What do you want? Who do you want to win? And you can shuffle those cards up. And as I deal around the table, you can take those cards back out of my hand anytime you want and take cards out of the deck and just give me back any part you want every time I go around the table. And that hand will still be the winner.
What?
I know, it's
Yes.
crazy.
He's a magic man.
Yeah.
I don't want to let me sing. I'll make you gross everybody out if I try to imitate
But
you,
it
Lisa.
doesn't
Oh, yeah.
make sense because you'd have to be tipped off somehow, right? By what's in one hand to know what's in the other hands. Oh my gosh, it's
I know.
blowing my mind. And I know I'm not supposed to understand it.
Here's the thing is,
I know.
the top people in the world, there's a half a dozen that understand. They can't do it, but
Right.
they understand it. So it's not like you're dumb.
Yeah.
It's just-
Right, like
they're-
all of us
it's
Right,
just-
no one
are
has any
victims to
idea.
the Richard Turners of the
Yeah.
world.
Wow.
I've been fortunate. And of course, I put in my hours.
Oh, of
Malcolm
course.
Gladwell talks about the rule of 10,000 hours to be a master at something.
You're at like
Yeah, I have that-
billions of
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Well, not millions, but hundreds of thousands.
And maybe,
Yeah.
many
maybe
hours.
like, can you tell some of the stories, like with Dai Vernon, how he would explain to you how something worked, but since you didn't see it and you imagined it, you were able to take it to the next level because you weren't limited?
Yeah, because Vernon grew up on a book called Expert at the Card Table by S.W. Erdnase, written in 1902, his first publication. And that he called it the Bible of card cheating, or cards. And he mastered most of those moves by the time he was 10, 12 years old. This is probably about 1905 or so. He was born in 1894. Took a liking to me. When we first met, 1975, I was working with a guy named Bob Yerkes, Yerkes. He's been in more movies, more television shows than anybody in history. He's stuntman. He was in his first movie, Somebody Misbehaves with Elizabeth Taylor in 1947.
Wow.
And he's 92 years, just turned 92 this last February.
Gosh, what a
Dear
stud.
friend. He has a whole trapeze in his backyard. I was working with him on Circus of the Stars and
Trapeze in the backyard is like a side note, but yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Oh, I train people on that trapeze.
That's
and
fun.
then and a tightrope and everything else for circus act. But anyway, I was working with him, and a guy named John Wagner, J.C. Wagner, said Dai Vernon would like to meet you. And of course, Dai Vernon's the legend of all legends in magic and cards.
So you said, no thanks, I'll pass.
And
basically.
he said, oh, they called me up the night before. By the way, you have to have a suit to get in the Magic
Ooh.
Castle. A suit?
So you get to meet at the Magic
Don't
Castle.
have a suit. I can't afford a suit.
Do you realize this is a Cinderella story? Like you're Cinderella in this situation.
Yeah,
you're
you're
going to
Cinderella.
a castle.
I'm going to a
meet
castle,
And you end
and
up
I'm
as
a
a
royalty.
I'm
Isn't
an
that how it ends?
ugly
I don't know.
looking Cinderella, even though I had pretty good muscles. But
You've never
Look
put
at
on a
muscles.
high
Look at these
heel.
muscles.
so anyway, so I went over to the Northridge Shopping Center, put my cards on a rack, started thumbing through coats, and the sales guy comes up to me and says, I'll cut you a high card for that coat. I thought to myself, okay. And he goes, no, just kidding. I said, tell you what, come over to your checkout counter here. I took out 3 cards. I did a little 3-card money. I said, you tell me where that queen is. I'll pay double for that coat I picked out. If you don't get it, then you give me the coat for free. And they said, really? I said, really? Well, guess what? He missed. I said, tell you what, I'll bet you the coat against a pair of pants. Okay. And he's nervous because now he's down a pair of pants and a coat. I said, this is probably coming. You're going to probably either have to steal this or take it out of your own budget or something. I'll give you one more chance. A shirt and tie against the coat and pants. And he said, all right, this is the last one. Anyway, so I walked out with a brand new suit, didn't pay a dime.
Chicks and suits.
And then
Come on,
I
learn
went,
magic,
into, went
guys.
into the Magic Castle, and sitting at the library was Professor Dai Vernon and a guy named Tony Giorgio. He played Bruno Tattaglia in the Godfather film. He was the guy with that knife that pinned the guy's
Yeah.
hand against to the bar.
Yeah.
That was
Legends.
Tony Giorgio. We battled each other for 35 years. Well, we battled each other we were friends for 35, 38 years. But we knew each other, but for 26 of those years, we battled each other until he finally surrendered.
Oh.
But anyway, and everything I would do, he'd go, won't get the money, won't get the money. You know, he was just mean, nasty. I said he didn't have to act, he just played himself, a mean, nasty mafia hitman. So Vernon took a liking to me. Giorgio, we battled. I was no threat to him from 75 to like 80. But then all of a sudden my skill set started getting better than his. But anyway, Vernon took a liking to me. And so he would describe to me because first it was a challenge. He would just say something. And then I would take that piece of information and work on it and fix it and master it. And then I'd go back and he'd go, "That's good. Hey, come here.
Larry, come here. Watch this, Larry. Watch this.
Larry Jennings." And then I would do something else. Then he started saying, "This kid puts in the hours." Because I'd put in 14 hours would be nothing. That would be an average day, 14-hour day, 7 days a week. And so every time he'd see me, he said my skills were exponentially getting better. So I would do something else. Then he started saying, "Well, Richie, actually, you really want to do that deal with all 4 fingers on the side of the deck because it's much more natural than the classic mechanics grip because that tips people off that are in the know. They know that you're going to be up to something. If you're holding the deck and you're strangling it like a dead chicken, like you're trying to wring its neck or something. So if you act like you're doing nothing, no tension, and then you go to do something, nobody's the wiser." And so he would tell me, and he'd say, "Feel my hand." And so I'd feel his hand, and I'd get this picture in my head of what we're talking about. I would see his hand. I'd see that picture using my visualization techniques, and I'd have that image in my head. And so that's what I worked from, based on feeling his hand and the image that my brain created from touching his flesh in his hand.
That's why it's so crazy, because he's now imagining something that even Dai Vernon can't do. Right. So he is now gone beyond what's humanly possible, and he's making it happen. That's why he's pushing the limits.
His brain does that for him.
Yeah.
And I walked around for 25 minutes earlier today looking for my phone that was in my back pocket. That's what my brain does for me.
No, but it's just
a little jealous.
Brain out of your back pocket.
Get your brain out of your back pocket.
Imagine you can lift a 50-pound weight, but somebody gives you an 80-pound weight, but it's labeled like a 50, and you just do it, and all of a sudden you've lifted more weight than you could before. He spent his whole life playing on a field that was different than us, so he's achieving things that are different than other humans.
And that's another whole area where the visualization techniques come in, and there have actually been cases and studies and people that have done things using the brain and visualization, but they didn't have the particular abilities or skill or uniqueness of my particular way I see.
So you have had a few people looking at your brain recently, which is interesting. And one of them was Dr. Ogus from Harvard. And he says that there's might be something about the way your visual cortex was already developed when your retina stopped working, but it is now resonating with other parts of your brain. So probably not just the eye has been reassigned to one feature, but because you're very tactile and you hear things and see things, your visual cortex that is now being repurposed in a sense. Does that feel right to you?
Yeah, that's pretty much the way he described it. My haptic and tactile neural network, which is the part of the brain that relates to touch, it was looking for other places within my brain to colonate, and it bullied its way into my visual network, which in the brain is still fully intact. There's no retina, so it's like there's no lens to a camera, so the images can't get in there. But in the camera, in the base of the camera, is still fully functional. And
still taking pictures. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so those two parts have merged and are resonating as one unit. So when I touch something, my brain will instantly create an image of that object in physical space, in external space, not in my head here, but externally here. I will actually see that item.
Right.
Did your hearing improve as well?
My hearing is about standard.
Okay.
Daredevil style. So now I think let's just go through Richard's history. So we'll talk about he's been in DC Comics. He's gone on all these adventures like cliff diving, trapeze. We'll talk about card mechanics. He made board games. He's traveled like Russia and China. He's been in jet fighters and military things. He's a black belt. He's award-winning documentary with Delt, weight training, and then all the awards he's got. So I'll just kind of run through all of these, but we can
rattle them off like they're nothing.
Well, I don't know. We're just about to
what? Wait, what?
Yeah,
what?
That's what I mean. We can dive into all of them, but I have
Can you believe all that, Lisa? And the thing is, it's all true.
I know, It's so funny as he's over there just like, we're going to go through this and this and this.
Well,
and the 12 Oscars he's won. I'm just like, wait,
He's been on the moon and then he reversed time on us. Yeah. So anyways, like that same thing we were talking about with Dai Vernon being able to get you to do things that aren't possible. How does that show up in the gym? I know you've been to the gym for 50 years in a row. I think that's
50.
Can you see how many days 50 years in a row is? Because that's like
No, 51 years and...
Wait, what are we talking about? Going to the gym?
Days, bro.
Yeah,
That's
so-
Like a
crazy.
regular gym?
Yeah. No,
Every day?
No, he's so strong. He's so much older than
Every
you.
day for 50 years?
He's so much older than you think he is.
You haven't
He's
skipped
so
a day.
strong.
I'm 68 years old.
He could break my
What?
hand, like if he squoze it. It's scary.
But you have not skipped a day.
Like that. That's 18,615 days in a row.
You're cheating me by about a year, because it's 51 years.
Yeah.
That's
51 years.
March, April, May, June, and 4 months.
And 4 months, but yeah, it's
Okay.
like that's about.
And what's
I
the
thought
date?
I was
The
self-motivated.
fifth,
I don't anymore.
You're
Minus
gonna-
2 days. Yeah.
We should celebrate your 20,000th day in a row at the gym.
well,
Because that's got to be right up there with like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something.
oh yeah. Well, I'm
Way
sure.
past that.
Well, I just haven't missed. I haven't stopped working out
Yeah.
in
How
51
long do you
years, 4 months.
How long do you spend at the
Over the years, it's been different. Like I said,
Okay.
now that I'm an old man, I might spend an hour to 2 hours a day.
Okay, that's
Okay.
a long time.
But the thing is, I take no breaks when I work out.
Wow.
There's no resting allowed. No, you go from one exercise, go back and forth between two different muscle groups so that you don't have any reason to stop working out. I do sets of decks.
52.
Well, no, when I turned 52, I added in the jokers. I do
of
54 reps. Whenever I do one set,
with
it's
the
So you were
54
right. That's what you're saying.
reps.
It's 54
that's
every
what I
day.
meant.
You meant,
Yeah.
of course, the jokers. Yeah.
Yeah. But how this CBS, Charles Bonnet syndrome, is very useful in the gym, at least in my part. And I'll tell you a story about my wife with this.
Yeah.
Is I will take and say I'm doing a bench press. I will be pushing the weight up, and I will see across me. I'll see a set of pulleys, going another set of other pulleys, and a giant counterweight on the other side. Or maybe I'll picture Arnold Schwarzenegger in a gorilla, pulling down on that cable as I'm lifting it up. And when what I do is I wait till I'm getting to the point of exertion, and when I hit that point of exertion, I will then bring in the body. These bodybuilders, they sit there and go, "Come on, buddy, run it out, run it out, run it out." You know, all they're trying is just
grunting
trying to
and
bring
stuff.
body with body. They're not bringing their mind in conjunction with the body. So I relax my mind. I see my mind projects itself, seeing that weight dropping, and that weight is pulling the weight up for me. And at that point, my muscles will no longer feel the stress as I continue to press. Hence, I'm able to do tremendous amounts of repetitions. When I did my fourth degree black belt test, I was 48, 49 years old. I lifted 5 million pounds moving around, of total weight. Let me make sure I'm not misquoting myself, misstating myself.
He can say anything and I'll believe it.
Well, yeah, I just
Honestly,
wanna make sure.
make
I have this
whatever
thing
you
about
want up.
accuracy.
I'll be like, yes,
But
I believe
there's
you.
a tremendous amount of repetitions. I did like 4,000 reps, moving so many X number of pounds of so many feet. But I did tremendous amounts of numbers. And the person that tested alongside me was half my age. He was 23-year-old, 225-pound black belt. And he couldn't do 50% of any number of reps. Whatever number he did, I doubled it. I always made sure he went first. I always went second.
So let's talk about your traveling. You've been to Russia, China. Some of those stories are absolutely incredible. What happened to get you into Russia when nobody else was getting in?
Yeah, I was very fortunate. They wanted me on a show. How's this for a title? In English, it translates to Superhuman Incredible People.
Yeah.
What
And
year is this? What year was that?
Not last
Translate that to
September,
Russian.
but the
Let's say-
September
let's-
before, during COVID.
Oh, recent.
Yeah.
during
This
COVID.
just happened.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
happened. To get into Russia, unless you're a president, royalty, ambassador, you don't get in. And so,
Yeah, but you're basically royalty.
yeah,
What
well,
you do.
check
I'd
Russia
argue.
One TV network. The Russian consulate said no visa for Turner. So Russia One went to the Ministry of Internal Affairs, said, "We want Turner on the show. Let him in." They said no visa for Turner. They went to the Ministry of External Affairs and higher up the government ladder. No visa for Turner. They
It's
went
so surprising. Usually they're so reasonable, easy to
they're
deal
so
with.
Such a different
But
situation.
they went all the way up to President Putin's deputy prime minister, and they said it'll be ready in 3 minutes. And I was actually escorted in from Istanbul, Turkey, into
Dang.
Moscow from the power of Putin's deputy prime minister.
Dude,
But
they
I
gave him a
say
$4,000 bottle of vodka on top of it.
Oh, I know.
Kidding
That was
me?
just very.
Do you like vodka? Do you drink
No,
it?
I still have it.
Come on, you should
came in
bring that over, man.
a solid.
We'll taste
brass,
test for you.
casing that's all very ornately that it's the bottle sits in. No, I brought it home because I didn't have to worry about breaking it. But they gave us gifts. I was put up right at the Kremlin, right next door to the Kremlin, where all the royalty stays, and they always knew I was coming. I knew I was going to be monitored, and they were so gracious and so nice. I would go. I'd walk in the streets, and I've done Dealt. They did it. They translated Dealt, the movie that in Russian. I have a copy of it. And then I had Patrick Bet-David has a show, and they had the episode I did with him translated into Russian. So I would just be walking down the street, and they go, "Oh, that's Mr. Turner," and they'd want to take pictures every single day. I went out with a friend of mine, David Reichel. He's the one that invented the app Color Switch that you see on that you can. I've drug him around the world with me. A good friend, wonderful guy. Anyway, so the show was all these amazing people. Like, one of the things that they did is they would have a basketball game going. There was this little 9-year-old girl and this other guy who they both could do this. They would play the basketball game for 15 minutes, just playing basketball. And you can stop and say, at 1 minute and 47 seconds, where was everybody on the field? Where was the ball? And that person would be able to tell you
And you could just
exactly
know?
what the layout was at that instant in time. And they would play it back, and they would show you that it was amazing people on the show. And there was a show started in China called Brain, and then Russia took it and they called it Superhuman, Incredible People. Every time we were going to go to eat, I would walk in, they'd say, "Mr. Turner, your table's ready. The place is packed, except for one table." And every time, they didn't know. We would go to the gym, and one time I came out of the gym, it was the ambassador to Turkey. "Oh, Richard, I am Russian ambassador to Turkey." Sorry, I'm use an Asian accent for a Russian.
No, just commit. Keep going.
Matt can only do Asian accents. That's perfect for him.
Turkey.
Yeah.
May I give you a hug?
Give you
And I said, "A hug? Okay, give me a hug." So he gave me a hug. And but then I wanted to go to dinner. Mr. Turner, your table is ready. Packed, place is packed. One table, my table, always ready every time. We
That's
just
so
walk
cool.
in, and they would just be ready. And I thought, man, they have me monitored somehow, some way.
Yeah.
They gave us wonderful gifts. I got my
great to
wife.
hear you're treated
My
so
wife
well.
got a set of earrings that came out of Tsar Nicholas II.
Wow.
One half-carat diamond ring, silver, and they're actually like a bolt. You screw the bolt on the nut on the bolt. That's how you put the earring on. It's not a clip. Yeah, it's really cool. But they're like 100 and Tsar Nicholas 1894 to 1917 when they were killed off. But anyway, that was they were just very nice to us. I would say.
That's so
The
cool.
people around the world are amazing. The government screw things up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Chinese were
People
so
were amazing.
wonderful.
Wow.
I performed in theaters all throughout the country, 32 different theaters, and they're just gorgeous theaters, beautiful theaters. Now I know where all of our money went.
One time the dressing room was a football field away
All
from
of them,
that
not
thing.
one.
Oh, I was like, that is crazy.
Yeah, the length
It's
from
so
my
big.
dressing room, and then the behind the stage was the width of a football field to get from the dressing room
Imagine how
across
many
the football
people.
field and then onto the
My
stage.
God.
Do you think you have an advantage not getting nervous on stage because instead of seeing 200,000 people in front of you, you can just
I can see whatever I want.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
can-
yeah.
you can
That is
say-
an advantage.
you can imagine everyone in their underwear. Or
that
just
is true.
you
I
and your
can trust
family?
them any way I want, and I can have as many out there.
Do you
or
imagine
as
people in
few
their
as I
underwear?
want.
Does that even relax anyone?
I don't
even know
think
why that's
so.
a thing.
I can't imagine a scenario where I'd be in a room with 800 people in their
If your whole
underwear and
audience
feel
was
less
in
nervous.
yeah, I would be like, put your clothes on. I need to calm down.
This is. I think that I was in danger.
I don't. And the funny thing was, I brought back in to entertain 213 members of the Chinese Parliament.
Wow.
There were
Oh
some
my gosh.
government officials, and during the entire show,
That's how they
there
clap?
sound like
claps.
13 people out there.
You're like,
and
"Come
here
on,
I had
people."
just
Sounds
spent
sarcastic.
two
Like,
months
here he goes
having
again.
roaring audiences. And I
Yeah.
thought, what's wrong? I'm bombing. And then I realized these are the hardcore communists.
Yeah.
They
Like,
they
set
just
their
sit
stern
there.
face.
Yeah.
None of them were going to show any reaction to this honky American. And then when afterwards they go, "Oh, Metatana, son, may I have a picture with you? May I have a picture?" They were so
You're like,
nice
"Oh,
and
now
lovely
you want
afterwards.
a picture
And
with
I'm
me."
going,
You just can't do it.
yeah.
You can't look weak in front of your comrades.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
You just have to do it afterwards.
It was afterwards I realized what happened. They could not show that they were entertained.
You
And
buy an
but
American,
afterwards,
yeah.
one-on-one, they were just as nice as all get out, even the hardcores.
How'd you get into the DC universe? I know you're a comic book character now.
Oh, yeah. I don't
You bring
know.
that
I just got a call, said, "Oh, by the way, you're in the episode 2009, is it? Episode of a Spirit comic." It was my wonderful friend Whit Hayden and Johnny Ace Palmer and myself are the Spirit's mentors.
So cool. You think they're gonna?
I
You
want
think?
an action figure of you.
You think they're? Yeah. You think they're gonna call you up for the new Batman?
Yeah, new Batman. Oh, there you go.
You'd be a great Riddler. You could
Such
be,
a good
grab a
character.
card, you know,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about jet fighters. You were in the AT.
38 supersonic jet fighter.
That thing goes faster than the speed of sound, and he flew it. Not
That
like
was-
co-piloted, like they let him take controls.
Yeah.
You flew that?
I took
kidding?
over the controls.
You are a pilot. You know how.
No, I'm not a pilot.
But you
I
just
got
did
to
it.
fly it.
But I did stay in Holiday Inn Express.
I've
last
been
night.
made honorary lieutenant colonel, honorary commander in the Air Force, and honorary naval flight officer. And over the years, I've had the privilege of flying and being in all kinds of different military aircraft on missions and so on. And that was very cool, and I'm very
Can't even
fortunate.
parallel park. This guy, look at
But
that's
my
insane.
wife and I,
just think
Kim,
that's-
were the only.
yeah.
They think we're probably the only civilians that got to go up in formation. And she had her she had a captain as her pilot, and I had a lieutenant colonel as my pilot. And we whip, zip, and then they let us take over the controls. I told Kim, I said, "You go that way. 'Cause I don't want to run into you. I'll go to the left." And then I said, because we're head-to-head contact with each other. I said, "Let's pull 5Gs. Boom. Let's pull 5.5. Boom. Let's pull 6. Let's pull 6 point." We got up to 6.2 Gs.
Wait,
And then-
people pass out at 4, right?
I know, and my captain, my colonel, who was my pilot, he was gonna pass it out, and I'm going, "Hey, I'm the
You're like, no,
amateur
no.
in this
The
group,
blood-
not you."
Yeah, your blood's going down to your feet.
And he's going, "Man, you're
Fine.
aggressive." But that was my
You
wife.
are a wild man.
That is
Learning
so
It was
cool.
fun. I'll just say that was like a 5-mile
Yeah.
high roller coaster ride.
I bet.
Yeah. Well, and you've ridden a motorcycle too.
Oh, I got a ticket for driving while blind.
I want to hear that
I was
story.
driving down Lemon Grove Avenue.
It's so beyond ridiculous. It's like, oh, you actually have to have vision to be on this motorcycle?
Oh my god.
I had a Honda 350. I was going down
Oh, that's
Lemon
so
Grove
funny.
Avenue in Lemon Grove, east suburb of San Diego. I had
my
a
God.
deaf guy on the back named Roy Otterman. And he would tell me, right, left. He had this high squeaky voice, even though he was a big auto mechanic.
So put together,
left,
you're a
left,
good
left,
team.
left, Richard,
Yeah.
stop, light. He'd call out the stuff, and I would drive. And the reason why I drove a motorcycle, this sounds so stupid, is because if it was a car, I couldn't see far enough to see over the hood, to see if I was going to bump into somebody. So I had to have a motorcycle. So I was
Your
close.
space has to be right here.
This
to go
is
through,
sound
yeah.
logic.
Yeah, sound
I'm
logic.
with it.
And so
Yeah.
I'd follow the line of I always
Oh
on the
my
right side.
gosh.
I'd follow the contour of the road out of the corner of my eye, and so he would give me direction. Then we were pulled over because why were we pulled over? I don't remember.
Or
why
being
we-
blind. Would
No,
be a star.
I can't remember why we were pulled over. Anyway, so he.
I think he would have just seen. He would have just seen something was wrong with
yeah,
this
something
motorcycle.
erratic about that
off
driver.
here.
I don't think even he just.
Yeah,
like,
he must have sensed something. So anyway, we get out and he asked for my ID, and of course I had insurance on the bike, but I had an ID, but I did not have a driver's license. He asked for mine, and then I gave my insurance card, hoping that would mollify him, and then he asked for Roy for his, and then Roy's license says you're deaf. Is that true? Man, he goes, let me see your license. Oh, nice. So I gave my identification card, and back then. And I didn't even know this until about 10 years ago that they stopped putting this on. I told somebody, it says that I'm blind and have asthma on the back of the card. They said, no, it doesn't. Well, it did 50 years ago when I got a ticket for driving while blind. So back then it says you're blind on this thing. And he goes, I don't believe either one. I don't believe you're deaf. I don't believe you're blind. You're going to jail for robbing that donut joint. That's right. It was a Winchell's donut.
Oh.
It was at Winchell's donut shop that was robbed. And we fit the profile
Nice twist.
to a T except for two minor details.
pulled
The
it.
getaway driver wasn't blind. His accomplice wasn't deaf. And once we
my
finally
gosh.
proved to them that I couldn't see the lights flashing and he couldn't hear the siren blasting, I received a ticket for driving while blind. And he let us drive on.
So when I think of Richard Turner, although I'm so familiar with so much that you've done, Card Mechanic is the one everyone seems to know you for. Your documentary was really focused on your card manipulation skills, and like you say in the movie, a real car mechanic, they fix a car, but a card mechanic
Fixes a card game.
Yeah, fixes a card game.
Wow.
So Richard's the kind of person who can sit down and deal a deck of cards out to two people playing poker and make sure that the money flows in one direction.
What direction? Yes.
And that has
Whichever
gotten
direction I
him
choose.
into, it seems like a lot of trouble and
I think a few
aka
people might
exciting
be
moments.
interested in that
Yeah,
skill
that is
for their
that is a
business.
skill that some people with dangerous roots might be interested in.
Yeah, I've
You've
had
been
offers
there.
all over the world to buy my hands from South Africa to
But with
Germany.
great power comes great
Well,
responsibility.
that's the problem.
That's right.
If you
And
take
if I
any of
would have
that
taken it, I
money,
would be dead
yeah.
today.
Because you don't get out of those systems. You just don't get out
Yeah,
of them.
once you're in, you can't buy your way out.
They've been finding a few of those people in Lake Mead recently.
Yeah, there you go.
So, Lisa, if I told you he was a certified lifeguard, would you believe me or would you think I was lying?
Of course I would believe you. I've been sitting here for the last hour hearing all these unbelievable things.
How-
Of course I would believe you.
How are you a certified lifeguard without retinas that work the same way?
My old girlfriend,
Wait.
she was a girlfriend in the fact she was a girl and a friend. We weren't dating that type of girlfriend.
Yeah, a
but
different type of
friend
girlfriend
that
back
was
then.
a girl.
Yeah.
And we took a lifeguard certification class, and she would cue me. She'd say, 10 o'clock, 50 feet. That's where my person was I had to go save. I knew to my left, 50 feet away. So she'd cue me on which way to go. And I went through the whole class and got my a 3-year certification. And they had no idea they certified, so they couldn't see the person out there. That
They
was
had
supposed
no idea.
I don't believe so because they gave me the certification. Of course, but
Like you just have to prove. You just have to like prove that
hilarious.
every system is broken in our world, but also that you can achieve it. It's the crazy.
Oh my
if you're
gosh.
Double edge of
silly,
each side.
but
Yeah.
that was
You are such an inspiration.
perspiration.
are.
You're such a
Such
perspiration.
a
Such a
perspiration.
perspiration.
Such
You
a
can
good
put, if
thing.
you put your mind to it, you can do
I know.
literally anything.
Cliff
No matter
diving,
how
tightrope walking.
Oh, and what tightrope walking? I used to do I love going to the top of buildings, and they always have this 3.5 foot rim around the buildings. You know
Oh,
what I'm
now
talking
he's on
about?
the top of buildings. Of course he is.
Tightrope
Of course,
walking,
of
yeah.
course.
Yeah. And I would tightrope around the rim of those things.
Sure. Why not?
And one,
I know that's what
yeah.
I'm saying
course.
too. It's like,
and
why
I
not?
got
Yeah.
yelled at. I mean, but anyway, and then, of course they're yelling at me to get down, but they don't dare touch me because
Yeah, no one wants to go up there and get you.
yeah, well, no, if I fall, it's gonna be their fault.
Ugh.
So they were afraid to say anything. You just get down, Richard, get down. And I mean, one time I was at Boulder University, and we were setting up our stage for our show, and I saw the rock sticking out of the thing, and I was 15, 18 foot up the side of that mountain, that building. And the stage manager, Burnell Hansen, yells out, "Rick, get off that building before you fall and kill yourself. You have a show to do.
So at what point were you swimming with sharks? Were you an ice road trucker at one point? Did you light matches in a fireworks factory?
road
Tell
trucker.
me more. Tell me all.
Shark hunting. Shark hunting is really fun.
Oh yeah, of course. You didn't know?
Of course it is.
I'm trying to think of the most absurd, dangerous things. And he's
Here's
like,
how we would do it. We go to the red snapper hut where they can the red snapper heads and guts. We'd get the guts and the heads. We'd take them to Marie Callender's and use their meat grinder. We had friends there, and we'd grind up the meat, 300 pounds, into we put them in trash cans. And then we would go out about 5 miles past
I have no idea
9
where
Mile
this is
Island.
going. And then it would tempt a bear, and I'd wrestle it to the ground.
Anyway,
Where are you doing?
We'd go out there and we'd catch bonita sharks, blue sharks. Bonita shark is like one step. There's a mako and then the great white. So they're
You
related
Google
to the
that, Matt?
mako. They have like 6
Whoa.
rows of teeth. And
Many.
one time I had this rope tied on with some red snapper heads on the gut, hand hanging over the edge for added chum. And this 7-foot shark comes up and starts chomping on it. And we pulled it in. I grabbed my gaff and I gaffed it. It's 6 foot long with a big hook. And I told this other guy to hang on to it. I said, if I loop his tail, if I put a loop around his tail, we won't get away. So I thought I was going to be able to wrestle this darn thing. And Randy, he put a slug in his belly. But that didn't slow it down. So I reached in there because I figured he's holding him by the head. So I get my arm, my right arm around the barrel of the shark that was almost as thick as my middle section, and I'm holding it,
Look him right in the eyes.
with my other hand trying to put a noose
dead
on
eyes,
it.
doll's eyes.
There's 4 witnesses to this whole thing. So anyway, I thought, oh my gosh, I've bitten off my show more than I can chew, and I'm sitting there hoping that it doesn't let go and turn around and bite me. And so I finally got a noose. We flopped him in the back. And then he starts chewing on the gas lines. It was an outboard motor, and we had the lines and the gas tank sitting there.
Die,
and
shark,
Randy
just
goes,
die.
somebody better get in the back and put that shark down, or we're going to be paddling 15 miles back in.
Come on,
And
Richard, drive us, do something.
so I grabbed my softball bat. We always had a softball bat. It was twice as big as a baseball bat. Oh my and I got back on that back, and I said, down, boy, down, boy. I says, heel, boy. I says, heel. And I started pounding on that shark's head. And about 5 minutes later, that shark starts chewing on the gas lines again. Randy says,
Dude, you can't knock it
better
out."
get in the back with that shark again. I started pounding on that shark's head again, going, down, boy. I says, heel. And finally, when the eyes popped out, the thing didn't wiggle anymore. And we got a lot of steaks out of that shark.
I feel like before I got here, you said to Richard, hey, so Lisa's like really gullible, so you can just tell her anything and she's
she'll
going to believe
believe
it.
it.
And he's like, get a load of this. I got a shark story. I'll just tell her something crazy and I'll get the baseball bat and the whole thing.
In the movie Dealt, that shark is slung over my shoulder, and his tail goes all the way to the floor, and the head is in front of my body, and there's blood pouring down my chest.
Okay, so we're getting low on time, but I want to talk about some of the awards that you've got.
He's EGOTed, hasn't he?
Thing. What's
He's
that?
absolutely EGOTed. You know,
EGOTed?
EGOTing is when you get an Emmy and a Grammy
Oh, I
and
never
an
heard of that
Oscar
before.
and a Tony.
Yeah, probably.
There's like only a handful of
No,
people
I
who've
feel like
EGOTed.
none of those. Not me.
So,
Not my area.
Have you been knighted? Is that something?
oh yeah, are you, sir?
Oh, that's
Sir
next.
Richard.
That's
Nope,
next.
nope,
He's
nope.
like, next week I have an appointment with the Queen, actually.
Yeah.
So
she
next time you
was-
see me.
I was supposed to be there this week, but she was busy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Royalty in Russia.
she was on the balcony.
Yeah. A little preoccupied.
Yeah, preoccupied.
Okay, so we know. So I know you were on Fool Us. You actually got to fool them, the fastest record ever. Can you talk about that? 9 minutes in.
Oh, that was funny. Yeah, 2 minutes in, Teller is already signaling, bring down the trophy. He's already fooled me. And I hadn't even got to the part where I was going to fool them. I was just entertaining them.
Did they? I haven't seen that episode. Did they know from the beginning?
They know from the beginning what?
Did they know that you saw with your hands only? Did they know from the beginning, or was that a big reveal?
Yeah, they Penn and Tellers.
Oh, of course
knew
they
who
would
it
know
was.
you,
They
right?
but they didn't know. They don't know who's coming up next on the show.
Oh,
That
okay,
is all
okay,
legitimate.
okay, got it.
They did not know I was coming out until
Yeah.
they saw the roll in, which was about a minute, and I think it mentioned something in the roll in, and then I invite them on stage with me. Teller starts saying, bring down the trophy, and then over his IFB, he's hearing, don't bring it down. We want Richard to do his entire act. So then I finished my act, and I said, and if I happen to fool you, my ear reads lips. And anyway, and then they stood up, and they just took 2 steps, and they turned and said, we have nothing to say. You fooled us.
I have seen this episode. Yes, I have, a long time ago.
And behind the scenes, there's this guy named Johnny Thompson who's like a legend in the magic world, and he can sometimes be the coordinator between the two.
Yeah, he's the judge. He's one of the judges. That's who they are talking with, Johnny Thompson and Michael Close.
Right.
The 4 of them are talking
So
together.
to convince all 4 of them, and that there's no way that they're going to figure this out, is just incredible. Like nobody does it that fast. Look at Teller's face. We're watching the video right now, but we can see Teller's eyes, and he's just lost. It's amazing.
And then
what a treat for them, though.
I know. And we had a good time later on. Another time where I'm in the room, and actually Penn tells about this in some blog for Forbes magazine. But Teller is watching like 2 inches away. And this is Penn talking. Said Teller's like 2 inches away from Richard's hands. And Richard is telling him what he's doing.
And he still can't see it.
And he's still not catching it. So
wow.
We did
so
after the
You
film.
are a titan.
They were fun. They were fun. They're just wonderful guys. They're just amazing guys.
Afterwards, did you go backstage and show them
Oh yeah.
how you did it? And because even if you can't see it. So it's so different.
Well,
what you do
when he was right there in front of me.
Yeah, because what you do isn't magic.
No, I'm telling them, they know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm telling what I'm doing in most cases. And it's just the fact that it's being done. So.
All right, so Golden Lion Award, I heard that Siegfried and Roy gave you that?
Right, yeah. That was the first cash prize for a close-up magician in Las Vegas back in 1982. And I was the first winner of that, and which was fun, cool.
And the Lynn Searles Award for excellence in card manipulation.
That was 2 years before.
I don't know a ton about. Tell me about that one. That's a yearly award?
Yeah, an annual. One person a year wins that one. At least that was like 1980, long time ago. God, 40 years ago? 30 years ago? But then the fun one was the Academy Awards I won at the AMA, the Entertainer of the Year at the Magic Castle.
Yep.
Twice.
Cool.
A couple times.
Yeah, the Academy of Magical Arts gives out the Close-Up Magician of the Year.
Right.
Is that the one that you consider kind of your most
That's
highest
probably
honor?
the most prestigious.
And that is covered. That's the one that's got covered in your documentary.
Yes,
Dealt.
that's right. Why I lose one year and I win the next year. Yeah.
And I would say that your documentary in some ways is an award too. How did you feel about just being a Sundance winner and having such a successful So many people have documentaries. So few people get to the level of just viewership and knowledge and inspiration as yours did. So how did that come about and how did it feel?
Well, a guy, Luke Coram and Russell Groves, they just finished doing a documentary called Lord Montague, about a aristocrat in London, in England, in his palace that he decided he was not going to have it destroyed. He was going to open it up to the public, and it became a big hit. And one of the executive producers of Delt was the nephew of Lord Montague. And he had a company called Rackspace. He sold for $4.3 billion about 6 years ago. And he was one of the executive producers of the film. And Luke worked for him. And they said, we want to do this movie about this card guy. And
How did they find out about you?
well, Luke's father and I knew the same people. He was a magician in the same circa that I was. And so he grew up doing magic. So they knew who I was. And
He
then
just knew your
they would
story.
meet. I think they met either my brother or somebody, and they said, "Yeah, I'll do one on this guy here." And so anyway, they came and saw my show and stuff, and then they got all the funds together and the producers, and we spent 5 years filming like thousands of hours of footage. They filmed and filmed. We had.
Where is all? They should recut it into a sequel or something.
series.
Or I don't know. I
Netflix
mean,
series.
I know it. Well, we'll just wait.
and I know it's been delayed from COVID, but there's a good chance in the future we actually see Brad Pitt playing Richard Turner.
Is there a role for a young 30s redhead in your movie? Because I volunteer.
My wife. My
Yes,
beautiful wife.
please,
That'd be
can
good,
I,
yeah.
Can I please audition?
Maybe the cop that gives the blind ticket.
Oh, okay.
It was it could be.
That's-
There's
okay.
female cops.
What's that?
Yeah.
But we don't know who's gonna play.
Maybe you could be on the show. You could. They should just recast you in all the roles. So you'd be like
Every
on the
single role. Yes.
You'll be like on the boat, and you'll be like, get off the trapeze. Like, don't cliff dive. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Your role will
see
just
that
be
acting
like telling him to
ability.
calm down and not do so much in his
I
life.
know. You know what? I did another documentary filmed out of Ukraine, Kyiv, Ukraine, Maxim Siderkov, and it was called "I Like the Way I See." Did you watch that one?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
seen
you
that
got to
one.
watch that one. They did so.
Okay,
It was.
yeah.
It's really people say it. People like it almost as much as Dealt,
Oh,
and they say it's almost like a
translated
love
in
story
English?
between
'Cause it's
Kim and I. In the thing, I didn't know this until I watched it because I was cutting clips for this biography, and she goes in there. She says, "Yeah, Asa, which is my son. Our son's name
Your
is
son is
Asa.
Asa
Asa.
Asa.
Your son says Ace of Spades.
His middle name is Spades.
Actually, you should real quick. You should tell that.
Okay.
'Cause I
That's
thought
the
that.
coolest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, but
his-
explain it because I'm so interested in the way it came about.
You want me to tell it?
Yeah, just real.
Okay, real quick.
Yeah.
My wife is going through the Bible and reading King David, King, and the King David's great grandson was King Asa. And 2 Chronicles 14:2 says, "And Asa did what is good and right in the eyes of the Lord his God," and it means physician or healer. And then she goes, and his middle name could be Spades.
This is why
I
you never
jumped
make
out of my
a
chair. I
joke.
said, "That's it, Asa Spades. That's the perfect name."
Richard,
I'll
I was
take it, I'll
joking.
take
I
it,
was
I'll take
joking.
it.
I-
And she goes, "No, I'm joking. That was a joke.
You're
We're
like,
not
nope,
naming
nope.
our son Asa Spades."
Dibs,
Do
dibs.
not joke about
Stepped
something
in
like
it,
that.
She couldn't get out. And our son loves his name. He doesn't even
Oh,
go
it's
by
awesome.
the name of his semi-famous father, Asa Turner. Nuh-uh. He goes by Asa Spades.
I so
Asa
wish you had 3
Spades.
kids and you were like, this
Oh,
is
all-
my son Ace of
the
Spades,
four
this is
suits.
my daughter Four Diamonds,
No,
and
Queen
this
of
is
Hearts,
and this
Reign
is
of
my
Hearts.
other son Kevin.
Yeah, do you
like I
ever-
so
Kevin,
wish you
yeah.
had like, and they're like, oh, which kid do you
Kevin.
not like the most? I wonder.
Yeah, what is your female name be?
Joe.
This is Ted.
All right. All right. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming out to the podcast.
So wonderful
Well, thank
chatting with you. You're
Oh,
a
you were
delightful
so
human.
delightful. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. So, yeah, you're super inspirational.